Hello, and welcome to another helpful episode of Fluent English Journey, the place where we learn English in a way that is both simple and meaningful. I'm really happy that you're here with me today. If you're someone who wants to improve your English, grow as a thinker, and learn how to communicate with more confidence, then you are in the right place. Every episode on this channel is designed with one goal: to help you become more fluent while also learning something valuable for your life. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that I believe is more important than ever before: creative problem solving. Now, when you hear the words creative problem solving, you might think, I'm not a creative person. Isn't that something for artists, musicians, or inventors? But actually, that's not true at all. Creative problem solving is for everyone. Whether you are a student trying to finish your homework, a parent raising children, an employee at work, or even someone running a small business, you are already using problem solving every single day. Think about your life for a moment. Things do not always go smoothly, right? Plans change. Unexpected problems appear. Sometimes we feel stuck and don't know what to do next. In those moments, the usual rules or the things we already know may not be enough. What really helps us move forward is the ability to think in new ways, to be flexible, to ask better questions, and to search for different paths when the usual path is blocked. That is creative problem solving. In this episode, we're going to look at this topic from different angles. First, we'll ask, what does creative problem solving actually mean? And how is it different from just following instructions step by step? Then, we'll explore why this skill is so important in today's world, not only for school or work, but also in daily life. After that, we'll talk about some of the common things that block our creativity, things like fear, perfectionism, or that little voice in our head that says, "This idea is stupid." And finally, I'll share some real-life strategies that you can use to start thinking more creatively right now. Along the way, I'll also ask you some questions to help you reflect on your own experiences. I want this episode to be more than just listening. I want it to be a chance for you to grow, to think differently, and of course, to practice your English. So I encourage you to stay with me until the end. I promise it will be useful, maybe even inspiring, and definitely full of good English that you can understand and start using in your own life. So, take a deep breath, relax, open your mind, and let's begin this journey of unlocking your creative thinking together, right here on Fluent English Journey. What is creative problem solving? Let's start with a simple question. What does creative problem solving actually mean? A problem is simply something that needs a solution. It's something standing in your way, something that makes life more difficult. And creative means using your imagination, your curiosity, and your ability to think in new or different ways. So when we put these words together, creative problem solving means using fresh ideas, flexible thinking, and sometimes unusual approaches to solve problems, especially when the usual methods don't work. Some people believe problem solving is always a straight path. They think it works like a recipe. Step 1, step 2, step 3, and then boom, you get the answer. That kind of thinking is called linear problem solving. It's like solving a math problem. If A plus B equals C, you just follow the rule and find the answer. And yes, sometimes life really works that way. But as you and I both know, life is often more complicated than a math formula. Think about this for a moment. Some problems in life are simple. They come with clear steps, almost like a recipe. For example, if you want to cook a dish, you just follow the instructions. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Or if you want to build a chair, you follow the manual that comes in the box. As long as you follow the rules, you'll get the result. That's regular, step-by-step problem solving. But here's the real question. What about the problems that don't come with clear instructions? What about the ones where you don't even know where to begin? That's when creative problem solving becomes important. You see, creative problem solving is not about rules, it's about mindset. It's about the way you look at the problem and the way you approach it. Instead of asking, "What's the one correct answer?" you start asking, "What are all the possible answers?" Instead of saying, "This is impossible," you start saying, "What if I try something different? What if the solution isn't outside of me, but already inside me? What if the real problem is not the situation itself, but the way I'm looking at it?" Let's make this real with a few examples. Backhand index pointing right. Example 1. Everyday life. Imagine you're planning a big family dinner. The food is ready to cook, people are excited, but suddenly the electricity goes out. You can't use the oven. You can't use the microwave. Most people would feel stressed, maybe even cancel the dinner. But creative problem solving looks at the situation differently. You might light some candles and cook on a gas stove or a portable grill. Or maybe you turn it into a special cold food dinner with sandwiches, fruits, and snacks. What could have been a disaster turns into a unique memory. That's creative problem solving in action. Backhand index pointing right. Example 2. At work. Now think about a work situation. Imagine you're leading a project, but suddenly 2 of your team members are unavailable. The deadline is close. What do? If you panic, nothing improves. But if you step back and think creatively, new options appear. You could ask, is there a faster way to complete this task? Can we change the deadline? Can I bring someone from another department to help? You're not just reacting, you're thinking outside the box, staying flexible and finding solutions that weren't obvious at the start. Backhand index pointing right. Example 3. Relationships. Creative problem solving is also powerful in relationships. Imagine you and a friend have a misunderstanding. You've explained your side of the story, but your friend is still upset. A usual reaction might be to argue more or to walk away. But a creative approach is different. You might step into their shoes and try to see things from their perspective. Instead of texting back and forth, maybe you decide to write them a thoughtful letter. Or instead of arguing at home, you invite them out for coffee, where the atmosphere is calmer. Just changing how you deal with the problem can change the result completely. Do you see the pattern? Creative problem solving isn't about being a genius. It's not only for inventors or artists. It's about being open to trying, to experimenting, to failing, and then trying again. It doesn't always mean creating something brand new. Often, it's something small, a shift in the way you see the problem, a question you never asked before, or a new way of combining 2 simple ideas. It's about staying curious instead of stuck. It's about choosing flexibility instead of frustration. And here's something very important. You don't need to be an artist, designer, or inventor to be creative. We're all creative in our own ways. Creativity can appear in how you cook, how you study, how you manage your time, how you deal with stress, or even how you talk to people. Creativity is not just a natural talent that some people are born with. It's a skill that anyone can practice, improve, and grow. And the more you practice it, the more confident you become at solving problems, not just with logic, but with creativity. So the next time you face a challenge, big or small, try this simple step. Pause for a moment. Instead of reacting right away, ask yourself a few powerful questions. Is there another way to look at this? What haven't I tried yet? What if the problem is not the problem, but the way I'm seeing it? You might be surprised at the answers that come to you when you give yourself permission to think a little differently. That's the true heart of creative problem solving. It's not only about fixing the problem. It's also about growing as a thinker while you solve it. Why creative problem solving matters more than ever. Let's think about the past for a moment. Life used to be a little more predictable. Many people stayed in the same job for years, sometimes even for their entire life. The path was quite clear. Study hard, get a job, build a family, and stay on that path. Of course, problems came, but usually the solutions were known. You could ask someone older, follow traditions, or simply use rules that had worked before. But today, things are very different. The world is moving faster than ever. Technology is changing everything around us. Some jobs disappear while new ones appear almost overnight. The way we communicate, work, and even think is constantly shifting. That's exactly why creative problem solving is so important in today's world. Think about the kinds of problems we face now. They don't always have clear answers. We deal with things like sudden changes in the economy, global health crises, climate change, new technologies, and even changing ideas about culture, identity, and communication. These aren't simple problems where one rule fits all. They're complex, messy, and sometimes confusing. In times like this, we don't just need people who follow the old ways. We need people who can stay calm, think clearly, and find new ways forward, even when the situation feels uncertain. And here's something very important to understand. Creativity is not just for creative people. You don't need to be a painter, a musician, or a writer to be creative. Creativity is not only about art. Creativity is about how you respond to challenges. It's about how you make decisions when the usual way doesn't work anymore. For example, a doctor who invents a new way to treat a patient when the normal medicine doesn't work. A teacher who changes their style of teaching to help a struggling student. A single parent who finds a way to make dinner with only 3 ingredients in the kitchen. All of these are acts of creative problem solving. Let me share a real story that shows this clearly. During the pandemic, there was a teacher in a rural village in India. Her students had no internet access at home. They didn't have smartphones, laptops, or Wi-Fi. At first, she felt lost. How could she teach her students without technology? Then she had a simple but brilliant idea. Every week, she printed out lessons on paper and gave them to the local shopkeeper. Parents would stop by the shop, collect the lessons, and bring them home. The children would complete their work, and then parents would send back the answers through short voice messages using a basic mobile phone. It wasn't high-tech. It wasn't perfect. But it worked. The children kept learning because their teacher refused to give up. That is what creative problem solving looks like in real life. Stories like this show us something powerful. When resources are limited, creativity becomes even more valuable. We learn to see possibilities where other people only see problems. We learn to build something useful out of very little. This ability to adapt, to rethink, and to reimagine is quickly becoming one of the most important skills in the 21st century. In fact, many companies today say that creativity is one of the top qualities they look for when hiring new people. Why is that? Because in today's changing world, having a flexible mind is often more powerful than having fixed knowledge. Knowledge can become outdated, but a flexible way of thinking helps you adapt to new challenges again and again. But this isn't just about work or school. Creative problem solving also matters in your personal life. Think about it. Let's say your friend is feeling sad, and nothing you say seems to cheer them up. What do you do then? Or imagine you're trying to save money, but unexpected costs keep coming up. Maybe a medical bill, maybe your car breaks down, maybe your rent increases. How do you adjust? These situations don't have simple answers. There's no rulebook you can follow step by step. They require you to look at things differently, ask better questions, take a step back, and sometimes try something completely new. That's creativity in action. And here's the good news. You already have the ability to think creatively. In fact, you've probably used it many times without even realizing it. Think about a time when you had to fix something quickly using only the tools or objects you had around you. Or maybe you had to explain an idea to someone in a new way so they could understand it better. Or maybe you changed your plan at the very last minute, and surprisingly, it worked out even better than your original plan. All of these are small but powerful proofs that you can solve problems in creative ways. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you had to figure something out with very limited resources or limited time? Maybe it happened at work. Maybe it happened at home. Or maybe it happened just yesterday. Think about how you responded. Did you get frustrated and freeze? Or did you pause, take a deep breath, and try looking for a different way forward? The more you practice creative problem solving, the easier it becomes. And the truth is, in a world full of unexpected challenges, creative thinking is not just helpful, it's essential. It gives us hope. It gives us strength. And it gives us the tools we need to keep moving forward, no matter what comes our way. Mastering creativity, skills and mindsets for modern problem solving. Creativity is not just about being an artist or coming up with wild, unusual ideas. It's a powerful skill that all of us need in today's fast-changing world. Every single day, we face problems that require new ways of thinking and fresh solutions. To master creativity, we need to understand more than just thinking outside the box. We need to explore how our emotions, our relationships with others, our daily habits, and even the way our brain works can all help us become better problem solvers. Emotional intelligence and creativity. One of the most important parts of creativity is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence means being aware of your own feelings and also understanding the feelings of others. When we try to solve problems, emotions can either help us or make things harder. For example, if we feel stressed, angry, or frustrated, it's very difficult to think clearly or try new ideas. Our mind closes and we get stuck. But if we can manage those emotions, if we can stay calm and balanced, then we can look at the problem with a more open and creative mind. Emotional intelligence also matters a lot when we work with other people. When we can recognize how others feel and communicate clearly, teamwork becomes easier. And when teamwork becomes easier, better ideas can flow. That's why creativity is not only about the brain, it's also about the heart. Collaboration and creativity. Speaking of working with others, collaboration is another key part of creative problem solving. Collaboration simply means working together. When different people bring their unique ideas, experiences, and skills, the results can be amazing. A team can look at a problem from many different angles. One person might see a technical solution, another might see a human solution, and another might see a faster, simpler approach. When these perspectives come together, they can create solutions that one person alone might never think of. Of course, collaboration requires good communication and respect for different opinions. But when we combine minds and listen to each other with respect, creativity multiplies. Creativity also means listening carefully to others and being open to changing your own ideas. Sometimes the best creative moments happen when people challenge each other's thinking, but in a positive, friendly way. This shows us that creativity is not only personal, it is also social. When we share, listen, and collaborate, new ideas can grow stronger. But here's the truth, creativity is not always easy. Sometimes we try something new and it doesn't work. Sometimes we fail. And that's where another important quality comes in: resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back after setbacks and keep moving forward. When we face failure, it's normal to feel upset, frustrated, or even want to give up. But resilient people see challenges differently. They treat failures as lessons, as opportunities to grow, instead of as permanent endings. They understand that failure is not the opposite of creativity, it is a natural part of the creative process. Being resilient helps us stay motivated, even when things are tough. It keeps our creativity alive, even after disappointment, and it pushes us to find new ways to solve problems. Building habits for everyday creativity. Another important part of mastering creativity is developing small daily habits that support innovative thinking. Creativity doesn't only appear during big projects or special moments. It grows through practice, little by little, every day. This might mean taking a few minutes each day to ask questions, to explore new ideas, or to try a new way of doing something ordinary. Simple habits can make a big difference. For example, Reading different kinds of books or articles, not just the ones you're used to. Taking short breaks during the day to relax your mind. Writing down your thoughts or ideas in a notebook. Trying new foods, visiting new places, or talking to new people. These small actions train your brain to stay flexible, curious, and ready for new challenges. Over time, they build a habit of creativity into your daily life. Everyday creativity is about creating space for curiosity and exploration, even in small ways. The science behind creativity. It also helps to know a little about how our brain works when we think creatively. The human brain is an incredible organ. It has the ability to change and grow throughout life. This ability is called neuroplasticity. When we learn new things, or when we practice creative thinking, our brain actually builds new connections and pathways. That means our creativity can grow stronger with practice, just like a muscle. Interestingly, scientists have found that creative ideas often appear when we let our mind rest or when we look at a problem from a different angle. That's why both focused thinking and relaxed thinking are important. We need times of concentration, but also times of rest, play, or even daydreaming. So if you're working hard on a problem and feel stuck, sometimes the best thing you can do is step away, take a walk, listen to music, or simply rest. Your brain may surprise you with a fresh idea when you come back. Putting it all together. In conclusion, mastering creativity is not about just one thing. It's a combination of skills and mindsets working together. It's about managing your emotions wisely, working well with others, staying strong and resilient after setbacks, building daily habits that keep your mind fresh, and understanding how your brain works so you can give it the right balance of focus and rest. All these parts support each other and help us solve problems in better and more creative ways. And here's the best part. Creativity is not a special talent that only a few people are born with. It's a skill that anyone can learn, practice, and improve with patience and effort. So the next time you face a problem, remember this. It's not only about finding the answer quickly. It's about how you use your emotions, how you connect with others, how you keep a positive attitude, how you build habits that support your mind, and how you give your brain the space it needs to grow. That's how you truly master creativity. That's how you become a modern problem solver. Creative thinking in a connected world. Today, creativity is more connected than ever before. We live in a world where ideas, people, and cultures meet constantly. Technology links us together like never before. What you think of in one country can inspire someone on the other side of the world within seconds. This global connection opens up endless opportunities for creative problem solving if we know how to use it well. This global connection brings exciting opportunities for creative thinking, but it also creates new challenges. So, the question is, how does creativity work in this connected world? How do culture, teamwork, and technology shape the way we solve problems creatively? Collaboration in a connected world. First, let's talk about collaboration. Creativity often grows when people work together. When different minds join forces, they bring with them different experiences, skills, and ways of thinking. Imagine a team where members come from different countries. One person might have a scientific background, another might be an artist, and another might be a business expert. Each of them sees the same problem from a unique angle. This diversity is a huge advantage because it creates possibilities for solutions that no single person could come up with alone. But teamwork also comes with challenges. People might disagree or have very different styles of working. One person may want to move quickly, while another prefers to take time. These differences are normal, but they need to be managed. Creative collaboration means listening carefully to others, asking thoughtful questions to understand their ideas, being open to suggestions, even if they seem unusual at first. When people respect each other and communicate clearly, disagreements can actually spark better ideas. A healthy discussion, where people challenge each other in a positive way, can push creativity to new heights. Culture and creativity. Next, let's think about culture. Different cultures shape the way people see creativity and solve problems. In some cultures, creativity is celebrated openly. People are encouraged to be original, take risks, and try new things, even if they fail. Failure is seen as part of the journey. In other cultures, tradition and respect for authority are very important. People might be more cautious, preferring to follow established methods rather than breaking rules. Neither approach is better or worse, they are just different ways of thinking. But in today's connected world, these cultural styles meet and influence each other all the time. For example, a company may have employees from Asia, Europe, and America all working on the same project. Each brings a unique cultural approach to problem solving. If the team creates a safe and respectful environment, this mix of traditions and perspectives can spark truly powerful ideas. So, understanding cultural differences is not only polite, it's also a tool for becoming more creative together. Technology and creativity. Now, let's look at technology. Technology is a double-edged sword for creativity. On one hand, it gives us incredible tools. With just a smartphone or computer, you can search for information instantly, connect with people anywhere in the world, work on the same project with someone on the other side of the planet using video calls or online tools. This makes collaboration easier and faster than ever before. Technology has opened doors that were impossible only a few decades ago. On the other hand, technology can also hold us back. Social media and constant notifications can make our minds restless. Instead of focusing on our own creative ideas, we sometimes feel pressure to copy what others are doing or to always stay updated. So, technology itself is not good or bad. It depends on how we use it. When we use it mindfully as a tool, it can help us grow creatively. But when we let it control our attention, it can limit our imagination. Inspiration from creative problem solvers. To understand this better, let's look at some famous creative problem solvers from history. Leonardo da Vinci was not only a great artist, but also an inventor and scientist. He connected ideas from art, science, and nature. His curiosity allowed him to see the world in ways others could not. Marie Curie faced enormous difficulties as a woman in science, but she kept going. Her discoveries of new elements changed the world of medicine and saved countless lives. In recent times, Steve Jobs combined technology and design to create products like the iPhone and Mac, which transformed the way people communicate and live. What do these people have in common? They were curious. They were willing to take risks. And they connected ideas from different fields, cultures, and technologies. The creative mind, how we think, feel, and grow. Creativity is a fascinating process. It is not only about coming up with good ideas, it is also about how our mind works, how we handle our feelings, and how we grow from experience. If we want to become better creative problem solvers, it helps to understand three things: what happens inside our brain, how our emotions influence our thinking, and why some people bounce back stronger after challenges. Let's take a closer look at the creative mind, how we think, feel, and grow. The science behind creativity. Our brain is an incredible organ. It allows us to connect ideas, imagine new possibilities, and solve problems. When we think creatively, it is not just one part of the brain working. It's a team effort inside our head. The logical part of the brain helps us plan, organize, and evaluate ideas. The imaginative and emotional part helps us dream, visualize, and see patterns others may miss. When these parts work together, creativity comes alive. Scientists also talk about something called neuroplasticity. This is the brain's ability to change and grow throughout life. Every time we learn a new skill, practice a habit, or try a new way of thinking, our brain builds new connections. This is great news. It means creativity is not something you are either born with or without. It is a skill you can grow through practice and patience. The role of emotions. But creativity is not only about the brain's wiring. Our emotions play a huge role too. Think about a time when you felt stressed or frustrated. Was it easy to come up with new ideas? Probably not. Stress, fear, or anxiety can block creativity. When we are too worried about failing, we often stop ourselves from experimenting. This is where emotional intelligence becomes important. Emotional intelligence means two things: understanding and managing your own feelings, recognizing and respecting the feelings of others. When we manage our emotions, when we stay calm instead of panicking, we create the mental space needed for creative thinking. And when we are aware of others' feelings, we can work better in teams, communicate clearly, and find solutions that respect everyone's needs. So, creativity grows best when emotions are not ignored or suppressed, but balanced and understood. The power of resilience. Even with a flexible brain and balanced emotions, creativity is not always easy. Every creative person faces setbacks and failures. In fact, no one succeeds without them. This is where resilience comes in. Resilience is the ability to bounce back after difficulties, to learn from failure instead of giving up. When something doesn't work, a resilient person asks, "What can I learn from this?" instead of saying, "I'm not good enough." Think about inventors, artists, or scientists. Behind every big success are dozens, sometimes hundreds, of failed attempts. Those failures were not the end of the journey. They were stepping stones that shaped the final breakthrough. Resilience keeps our creativity alive. It reminds us that failure is not proof we can't do something. It's proof we are trying something new. And that is the very heart of creativity. Unlocking innovation, tools, stories, and strategies. Innovation is often seen as something reserved for inventors, scientists, or geniuses. But the truth is, innovation is not just for a few extraordinary people. It is something everyone can unlock. At its core, innovation is about finding better ways to solve problems, improve our lives, and bring fresh ideas into the world. You don't need a laboratory or a billion-dollar company to innovate. You can be innovative in the way you cook, study, work, or even manage your daily routine. Innovation is really about a mindset, staying curious, asking what if, and being willing to experiment. So how do we unlock innovation? What tools, stories, and strategies can guide us? Let's explore this step by step. Stories of innovation. Sometimes the best way to understand innovation is through real stories of creative problem solvers. Take Thomas Edison, for example. He is often remembered as the man who invented the light bulb. But Edison didn't succeed on his first try or even his 100th. He made thousands of attempts before finally finding the right method. When people asked him about these failures, Edison famously replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That mindset, seeing mistakes not as failures, but as lessons, is the very heart of innovation. Or think about Marie Curie, who discovered radium and polonium. She worked under incredibly difficult conditions, with limited resources, and faced many obstacles as a woman in science at that time. But her persistence and curiosity transformed medicine and opened new doors for scientific research. These stories remind us of something important. Innovation is not about luck or instant genius. It is about curiosity, persistence, and the courage to keep trying, even when it's hard. Strategies for unlocking innovation. So, what practical strategies can we use in our own lives? Here are a few powerful ones. Stay curious. Ask questions, explore new ideas, and don't accept the first answer as the only answer. Curiosity opens doors to discovery. Experiment boldly. Try new approaches, even if you're not sure they'll work. Small experiments often lead to big breakthroughs. Learn from setbacks. Treat every mistake as information. Instead of asking, "Why did I fail?" ask, "What did I learn?" Collaborate widely. Innovation often comes when different people bring their unique experiences together. Diversity of thought creates richer solutions. Connect ideas. Some of the best innovations come from combining two unrelated things. Look for patterns, overlaps, or unusual connections. Tools that spark innovation. Today, we also have tools that make innovation more accessible than ever. Mind mapping and brainstorming, visual tools that help connect and expand ideas. But remember, tools only work when paired with the right mindset, openness, persistence, and curiosity. In the end, unlocking innovation is not about being perfect. It's about being brave enough to try, persistent enough to keep going, and open enough to see possibilities where others see problems. Innovation is a journey, not a one-time event. What blocks creativity? Now that we've explored why creative problem-solving is so valuable, it's time to look at something we all face: the blocks that stop our creativity. These blocks can come from. Let's look at some of the most common creativity blockers. 1. Fear of failure. One of the biggest creativity killers is fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of being judged. Fear of wasting time. Many of us hesitate to share our ideas because we think, "What if this sounds stupid?" or "What if I fail?" But here's the truth. Every creative person in history has failed many times. Failure isn't the opposite of creativity, it's part of the process. When we let fear control us, we stop experimenting, and without experiments, no new ideas can grow. 2. Perfectionism. Another big block is perfectionism. This is the belief that everything we do must be perfect from the very beginning. Perfectionism often leads to endless planning, but no real action. We get stuck editing the same idea over and over instead of testing it in the real world. Creativity is messy. It requires drafts, mistakes, and rough beginnings. If we wait until something is perfect, we may never create at all. 3. Overthinking. Sometimes we think too much about a problem. We analyze every detail until we feel stuck. This analysis paralysis blocks creativity because our brain becomes overloaded. Instead of seeing possibilities, we see only complications. Taking a step back, resting, walking, or doing something unrelated often helps clear the mind and let fresh ideas flow. 4. Fixed mindset. A fixed mindset is the belief that creativity is something you either have or don't have. People with this mindset might say, "I'm just not a creative person." But science tells us this isn't true. Creativity is not a gift for a lucky few, it's a skill anyone can develop. If you believe you can grow, you will start practicing and improving. 5. Lack of time and space. In today's busy world, another common block is simply not giving ourselves time or space to think. Constant noise, endless tasks, and distractions, especially from technology, leave little room for creativity. Our brain needs moments of quiet, play, and reflection to connect ideas. Without that space, creativity dries up. 6. Negative inner voice. Perhaps the most personal block is the voice inside our own head that says, "This won't work. Don't bother. You're not good enough." This voice often comes from past criticism or comparison to others. But if we always listen to it, we never give ourselves the chance to try. Creativity requires kindness toward ourselves, allowing mistakes, celebrating small wins, and encouraging progress instead of tearing ourselves down. The good news. The good news is that all of these blocks can be managed. Once you notice them, you can start changing how you respond. You can remind yourself, "Fear is normal, but it doesn't control me." Perfection isn't required, progress is. Breaks are part of the process, not wasted time. Creativity is a skill, and I can grow it. My ideas matter, even if they are small or imperfect. When we learn to quiet fear, release perfectionism, and give ourselves space, creativity has room to breathe. What blocks creativity? Because let's be honest, we're not always in the right state of mind to think creatively. Sometimes, even when we want to, we just feel stuck. Our minds stop flowing. Ideas seem far away. And no matter how hard we try, nothing feels fresh or original. So why does that happen? Let's look at both the internal blocks inside us and the external blocks around us. Internal blocks. Fear of failure. One of the biggest creativity killers is fear of failure. It often sounds like a small voice whispering, "What if this doesn't work?" or "What if people laugh at me?" That fear can stop you before you even begin. Creativity needs experimentation, but fear builds a wall that keeps you from taking risks. And without risks, there are no breakthroughs. Perfectionism. Connected to fear is perfectionism, the belief that everything has to be flawless from the start. At first, this might sound like a strength. But in reality, perfectionism creates pressure that squeezes the joy out of creativity. Instead of exploring freely, you become stuck polishing details. Creativity thrives on freedom, not fear. When you allow imperfection, interesting ideas finally have room to grow. Self-doubt. Another heavy block is self-doubt. This shows up as "I'm not creative" or "other people have better ideas than me." But here's the truth, even world-famous creators struggle with doubt. The difference is they don't let it control them. Creativity isn't about always being right. It's about being brave enough to try, even when you're unsure. Rigid thinking. Sometimes the block comes from holding too tightly to rules or routines. It's like driving the same road every day, even if traffic is always terrible, simply because it's familiar. Creativity, on the other hand, is like discovering a new road, one that's faster, more scenic, or just more fun. When we cling to rigid thinking, we stop asking questions. We stay safe in the comfort zone, but nothing new can grow there. External blocks. Pressure to always be right. Creativity is also shaped by the world around us. One major block is the constant pressure to be correct. In many schools and workplaces, mistakes are punished instead of celebrated. Students are trained to follow rules rather than explore possibilities. This kills curiosity, and without curiosity, creativity shrinks. Yet history shows us that many breakthroughs came from mistakes, experiments, and unusual questions. Judgment from others. Then there's the judgment, both from other people and from ourselves. Maybe a teacher once told you your idea was silly. Maybe someone laughed at your art, your opinion, or even your accent. Those moments can leave deep scars. Over time, we start to censor ourselves, hiding our ideas before anyone else has the chance to reject them. The real challenge. These blocks, fear, perfectionism, self-doubt, rigid thinking, pressure, and judgment, are part of life. We all face them. The real challenge is not to eliminate them completely, but to recognize them and learn how to move past them. Because here's the good news. Creativity is not a fixed gift. It's a skill. And once we understand what blocks it, we can use simple tools to set it free again. Shifting your mindset. Even small moments of doubt can plant seeds in our minds. Over time, these seeds grow into habits of self-editing. We start holding back ideas before they even leave our heads, thinking, "Better stay quiet than say something stupid." But here's the problem. When we silence our ideas, we also silence our creativity. All those blocks, fear, perfectionism, self-doubt, pressure, judgment, are like mental traffic jams. Imagine sitting in a car with the engine running, ready to go, but the light stays red and your inner critic holds the stop sign. Ideas pile up behind the light, waiting for movement. And creativity? Creativity needs green lights. It needs room to breathe, space to explore, and permission to make mistakes. Step 1. Notice the blocks. The first step to clearing the road is awareness. Simply noticing your blocks can make a huge difference. Ask yourself, am I afraid to fail right now? Am I trying to be perfect? Am I worried about what others will think? Once you name the block, it becomes easier to push past it. Remind yourself, mistakes are part of the process. Creativity isn't about knowing all the answers, it's about being willing to ask new questions. Step 2. Change your story. One of the most powerful tools you have is the story you tell yourself. The words you use shape the way your brain thinks. Instead of saying, I'm not creative, try saying, I'm learning how to think creatively. Instead of thinking, this must be perfect, say, let's just see where this goes. This small shift in language is like turning a red light into a green light. Suddenly, your mind feels open. You're willing to try, explore, and experiment. Step 3. Understand mindset. Now, let's go a step deeper. Mindset. Mindset is the lens through which you see the world, your challenges, your successes, and even your failures. And this lens can either open doors or close them. Psychologist Carol Dweck introduced 2 types of mindset: fixed mindset and growth mindset. Fixed mindset. People with a fixed mindset believe their abilities and talents are set at birth. They often say things like, I'm just not good at math, or I'm not a creative person. When faced with a problem, they might think, this is too hard, and give up. Failure feels like proof that they are not capable. Growth mindset. People with a growth mindset believe they can grow, improve, and learn, even if something is difficult now. They see challenges as opportunities. They understand that mistakes are not failures, but lessons. This mindset fuels creativity because it encourages experimentation, risk-taking, and learning from every attempt. Step 4. Give yourself permission. Shifting your mindset is about giving yourself permission to try, fail, and explore. Sometimes, all it takes is a deep breath, a little courage, and the willingness to begin, even if you don't know exactly how it will end. Your inner critic might still speak up, but with awareness, you can choose to listen to curiosity instead of fear. When you adopt a growth mindset, fear, perfectionism, and self-doubt no longer control you. Instead, they become signals, clues that you are stretching your thinking and moving toward creative solutions. Next, you can naturally transition to practical exercises and strategies for creative problem solving, showing how mindset meets action. Shifting to a growth mindset. People with a growth mindset use language that shows possibility instead of limitation. They say things like, I'm not good at this yet, or this is a challenge, but I can figure it out. They see effort as a path to mastery and mistakes as part of learning. When they fail, they don't see it as the end. They see it as a beginning, a chance to grow. So, which mindset do you usually use when things get tough? Be honest with yourself. When something doesn't go as planned, do you ask, why is this happening to me? Or do you ask, what can I learn from this? That small change from why me to what now is called reframing. Reframing is changing the way you look at a problem so that it gives you power instead of stress. Imagine you are learning a new skill, like public speaking or coding. At first, it might feel frustrating. You make mistakes. Maybe people criticize you. A fixed mindset would say, I guess I'm just not made for this. But a growth mindset would say, okay, that didn't go perfectly, but what went right? What can I do better next time? Reframing doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means accepting the problem is real, but choosing to see it as a challenge, not a dead end. It's like standing at the bottom of a mountain. A fixed mindset looks up and says, that's too high. I'll never make it. A growth mindset looks up and says, that's high. Yes, but I can take it step by step. This simple shift in thinking can completely transform how you approach problems. When your mindset shifts, you become more open to trying new strategies, asking questions, taking risks, and exploring unusual or creative ideas. Creativity begins not with perfect answers, but with curious minds. Think about your own life. When have you given up too quickly? Was it because you truly couldn't do it, or because you believed you couldn't? And on the other hand, think about a time when you surprised yourself, when you did something you didn't think you could do. What made that possible? Most likely, it was your mindset. You didn't quit. You kept going. You saw a possibility, not just a problem. This shift is especially important in today's fast-changing world. Technology, language, careers, they all evolve constantly. If your mindset stays fixed, it's easy to feel left behind. But if your mindset is flexible, ready to learn, grow, and adapt, then you are ready for almost anything. It's not always easy. When you're tired, anxious, or frustrated, it's natural to fall back into old thinking patterns. But here's the good news. Mindset is not fixed. It's something you practice. Every time you face a problem, you get to decide how you respond. You can react with fear or respond with curiosity. You can shut down or you can ask, what's another way to see this? Next time you face a challenge, pause for just a second. Ask yourself a different question. Instead of, why is this so hard? Ask, what can I try that I haven't tried yet? Instead of, I'm not good at this, ask, how can I get better at this? These small changes in your inner dialogue can make a huge difference in your outer results. Step by step, question by question, your mindset can become a tool for creativity, growth, and problem solving. Real-life strategies for creative thinking. The truth is, problems will always be part of life. They are unavoidable. But the way we think about them, the way we frame them in our minds, can either limit us or empower us. If you want to grow, think more creatively, and solve problems more effectively, start with your mindset. Shift the way you think, and everything else will begin to shift too. Now you might be asking, okay, I understand mindset is important, but what can I actually do to think more creatively? The good news is, there's a lot you can do. Creative thinking is not only for big, special moments. You can practice it every day, even in small situations. There are simple tools and strategies that help you come up with better ideas, find solutions faster, and even enjoy the process of solving problems more. Brainstorming. The first strategy is brainstorming. You've probably heard of it before. Brainstorming means coming up with as many ideas as possible without judging them at first. You just let the ideas flow, even if some seem silly, impossible, or unusual. The key is not to stop yourself. Don't ask, is this a good idea? Instead, ask, what are all the possible ideas? The goal is to get out of your usual thinking patterns. Evaluation comes later. First, let the storm of ideas begin. Mind mapping. Another useful method is mind mapping. This works well when your thoughts feel scattered or overwhelming. You start by writing one word or problem in the middle of a page, for example, time management. Then draw lines to related ideas, waking up early, to-do list, study blocks, phone distractions. From each of these, branch out even further. Before long, you will see how ideas connect. Mind mapping is a visual way to organize thoughts and spark new ones, breaking complex problems into smaller, more manageable pieces. Asking what-if questions. A fun and effective method is asking what-if questions. This encourages your imagination to run wild. Examples might include, what if I could only solve this problem using one hand? What if I had to explain it to a 5-year-old? What if the opposite of this idea is actually better? These questions challenge your brain to move away from usual paths. It's like exploring a new part of the city. You notice things you never saw before. Reverse thinking. Then there's reverse thinking, which is very powerful. Instead of asking, how do I solve this problem? You ask, how could I make this problem happen? Or how could I make this situation worse? It might sound strange at first, but it works. For example, if you want to improve customer service, ask yourself, How would I make a customer really unhappy? Maybe you'd ignore them, respond slowly, or give unclear answers. Now, just do the opposite and you have your solution. Thinking about the problem backward often shows you the right way forward. Lateral thinking. Finally, there's lateral thinking. Lateral thinking is about looking at problems from completely new angles, not following the obvious path. Instead of moving straight ahead, you explore sideways. You connect ideas that don't normally go together. You combine unusual concepts and ask, what if I did something completely different? This approach often leads to surprising and creative solutions. These strategies, brainstorming, mind mapping, what-if questions, reverse thinking, and lateral thinking, are not just abstract ideas. They are tools you can use every day to unlock your creative problem-solving skills. The more you practice them, the more naturally your mind will start seeing solutions in new and original ways. Lateral thinking in action. Lateral thinking is about solving problems using an indirect or creative approach. Instead of moving in a straight line from A to B, lateral thinking looks for unusual paths. It might involve combining unrelated ideas or changing the environment where a problem occurs. One simple way to practice lateral thinking is to challenge assumptions. For example, people once believed you had to go to a physical store to buy anything. But questioning that assumption led to online shopping, a simple idea that completely changed how we buy things. Here's another example in real life. Layla runs a small bakery. One day, she notices her customers aren't coming as often. She tries the usual solutions, posting on social media, offering discounts, but nothing works. She starts to feel stuck. Then she decides to step back. She sits with a notebook and starts brainstorming every idea that comes to mind. New cake flavors, loyalty cards, free samples, special events, even a dog day where people can bring their pets. Some ideas seem crazy, but she doesn't stop. Next, she uses mind mapping to see which ideas connect. She notices that the best ideas are about creating community, making her bakery a place where people want to stay, not just buy and leave. She chooses one idea, a weekly tea and talk event. Every Friday afternoon, she offers free tea and space for people to chat and share stories. Within a month, her bakery is full again. People come not just for cakes, but for the experience. It wasn't a massive marketing plan or a complicated strategy. It was a creative solution that came from giving herself space to explore and think differently. This story shows the heart of real creative thinking. It's not magic or genius. It's about slowing down, staying curious, asking new questions, and being open to possibilities. And the good news? You can use these tools in small daily moments. Stuck on what to cook tonight? Try a what-if recipe using only what's in your fridge. Can't concentrate? Try mind mapping to organize your thoughts. Facing a conflict? Use reverse thinking. Ask how you might be making it worse, then try the opposite. The more you practice, the more natural these tools become. Over time, you train your brain to see challenges from a fresh perspective, take a step back, see the bigger picture, and break problems into smaller, solvable parts. And even when things don't work right away, that's okay. That's part of trial and error, and that's how growth happens. The power of curiosity and play. Now, let me ask you, when was the last time you allowed yourself to experiment without knowing the outcome? When did you do something just for fun, just to explore, without worrying if it would work, be useful, or impress anyone? For many adults, the answer might be a long time ago. And that's a problem. When we stop playing, we stop exploring. And when we stop exploring, we stop discovering new possibilities, new solutions, and new ways of thinking. Curiosity and play are fuel for creativity. They let you test ideas, take risks, and experiment freely. When you combine curiosity with the problem-solving tools we've discussed, brainstorming, mind mapping, lateral thinking, reverse thinking, you open yourself to a world of possibilities. You give your brain the space it needs to see new connections and find creative solutions hiding just beyond your usual way of thinking. Even small acts of play, like doodling, trying a new recipe, or asking what-if questions for fun, help you train your mind to think differently, notice patterns, and make connections others might miss. In short, curiosity and play aren't just for kids, they're essential for creative adults. They keep your mind flexible, adventurous, and ready for new challenges. Curiosity and play, the fuel for creativity. When we stop exploring, we block one of the most powerful tools we have for creative thinking, curiosity. As children, curiosity comes naturally. We ask questions constantly. We experiment, break things, rebuild them, and try again. A child doesn't need to be told to be curious. It's in their nature. They play with blocks not just to build, but to see what happens when it falls. They draw without fear of judgment. They mix colors just to see what new shades appear. In short, children play with ideas, and that is one of the best forms of creative problem solving. But as we grow older, something changes. Society teaches us to follow rules, get things right, be efficient, and take life seriously. Many schools reward correct answers, not original ones. In some cultures, careful and logical thinking is praised more than imagination. Slowly, we learn to believe that play is only for children and curiosity is something to hide or control. As adults, we often feel the pressure to appear competent, even when we are learning. And so, we stop asking questions. We stop experimenting. We stop playing. Yet, creativity thrives on curiosity. Without curiosity, we never ask, what if? Without play, we never stumble upon unexpected discoveries. Some of the world's most brilliant innovations began with simple curiosity. Take Post-it notes, for example. A scientist was attempting to create a strong adhesive, but accidentally made a weak one. Instead of discarding it, he stayed curious. He experimented with the result, played with the idea, and eventually created a product that changed the way the world takes notes. The same principle applies in science, medicine, technology, art, entrepreneurship, and education. Every breakthrough begins with someone wondering why something happens or what would happen if they tried a different approach. Curiosity doesn't grow under pressure, it grows in freedom and safety. In playful, open environments, people are more willing to take risks, make mistakes, and keep experimenting. That's why companies like Google intentionally give employees time to explore personal projects, even if they don't lead to immediate results. Some of their biggest successes came from this freedom, not as a waste of time, but as an investment in creativity. It's also important to recognize that culture shapes how creativity is expressed. In some countries, creativity is celebrated and encouraged. People are urged to think outside the box, take risks, and share bold ideas, even if they seem strange initially. In other cultures, there is a stronger focus on tradition, respect for authority, and sticking to what is known. Creativity still exists in these settings, but it may grow more cautiously or privately. Understanding these cultural differences allows us to create environments that nurture curiosity, whether in classrooms, workplaces, or at home. By giving ourselves permission to play, explore, and ask questions, we unlock the innovative potential that exists within every mind. Practice, progress, and patience. Let's be honest, we live in a fast world. Everything moves quickly. We want instant answers, quick results, and immediate success. We scroll, click, and move on. In that environment, it's easy to feel like we've failed if something doesn't work immediately. But here's the truth, real change, especially creative change, takes time. There are 3 essential elements that make it possible: practice, progress, and patience. Practice. Think about anything you've ever learned: riding a bicycle, cooking a new recipe, or learning a language. None of these happened in a single day. You had to try, fail, adjust, and try again. Practice isn't about being perfect, it's about showing up consistently. Even when it's hard, even when results seem small, even when you feel stuck. In creative problem solving, practice means giving yourself chances to experiment repeatedly, testing ideas, learning from what works and what doesn't. Every attempt builds your skill. Progress, not perfection. The second key is progress. Small steps count. Most great inventions, stories, and solutions didn't appear in a single moment. They emerged through trial and error, small improvements, and consistent effort. Confucius said it best, "It does not matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop." Even slow movement is still movement. Every small effort builds knowledge, strengthens experience, and develops resilience. Progress keeps the creative mind alive, even when perfection feels out of reach. Patience. Finally, patience ties everything together. Creativity can't be rushed. Some ideas need time to grow. Some solutions appear only after repeated attempts. By practicing regularly and celebrating small progress, you cultivate patience, and patience allows creativity to flourish. So, the next time you face a challenge, remember, show up, experiment, adjust, and keep going. Celebrate every tiny improvement. Allow your ideas the time they need to develop. With practice, progress, and patience, you can unlock the creativity and problem-solving skills that exist in everyone. Practice, progress, and patience in action. And that's worth celebrating. Let me give you a real example. Imagine you're trying to become more creative at work. You read books, watch videos, maybe even try a new technique like brainstorming or reverse thinking, but nothing seems to work immediately. You still feel stuck. You might think, maybe I'm just not good at this. But what if you're judging the process too soon? What if your brain is learning in the background? What you might need isn't a faster solution, but a little more time. Creative thinking grows like a plant. You don't plant a seed in the morning and expect a flower by the afternoon. You water it, give it sunlight, and wait. Eventually, something amazing starts to grow, but only if you're patient. And that brings us to patience, which is hard for many of us. We want results, proof, immediate success. When things don't happen fast enough, we feel like giving up. But creative work doesn't follow a strict timeline. Sometimes your best ideas arrive only after you've already tried 10 things that didn't work. That doesn't mean you've wasted time. It means you're experimenting. Every failed attempt teaches you something. Every wrong turn shows you a part of the map. You're not lost. You're learning. This is where persistence becomes essential. Persistence means continuing to move forward even when it's difficult. It means not giving up just because progress is slow. It means showing up, practicing, and experimenting even on the days you don't feel inspired. Progress isn't always visible. Sometimes you're growing in ways you can't see yet, building confidence, discipline, and habits. For example, say you're learning English and want to speak more fluently. One day you forget a word mid-conversation and feel embarrassed. The next day, your words still don't come smoothly. It might feel like failure, but you're not failing. You're training your brain. Every attempt makes you stronger. It's not about speaking perfectly, it's about speaking consistently. Fluency comes gradually, like the rising sun, not a lightning bolt. The same applies to any creative journey. Don't focus only on the result, focus on the effort. Celebrate the small wins, even if they seem tiny. Maybe you asked a better question today. Maybe you stayed calm during a challenge. Maybe you had a new idea, even if you didn't use it. These are signs of progress, and they show you're developing the habits of a creative thinker. And one more thing, don't compare your progress to others. Everyone moves at their own pace. What looks like an overnight success usually comes from years of quiet effort. Be kind to yourself. Be patient with your journey. Trust that the path you're on, with all its ups and downs, is leading somewhere meaningful. So today, if you're feeling stuck or frustrated, remind yourself, practice brings progress and progress takes patience. You're not behind. You're not too late. You're learning. You're growing. Every small step counts. Take a breath, smile, and keep going. You're doing better than you think. Wrapping up your creative journey. As we come to the end of today's episode, let's take a moment to look back at everything we've explored. We've discussed what creative problem solving really means, not just being artistic or clever, but finding new, useful ways to respond to life's challenges. We talked about why creativity is more important than ever in today's fast-changing world, and how real-life problems often don't have simple or obvious answers. That's why learning to think differently, explore new angles, and stay open to fresh ideas is such a powerful skill, not only for your job or studies, but for your life as a whole. We also explored what blocks creativity. Fear of failure, perfectionism, self-doubt, and the pressure to always be right, these are things we all face. The good news is that once you notice them, you can begin to move past them. Shifting your mindset, especially from fixed thinking to a growth mindset, is a huge part of that journey. When you believe that you can grow, improve, and that mistakes are simply part of learning, you create space for creativity to thrive. Then we explored practical strategies, tools you can actually use in your daily life. Brainstorming, mind mapping, asking what-if questions, reverse thinking, and lateral thinking. These methods don't require special training. You can start using them today, whether at work, at school, or at home when tackling everyday problems. We also talked about the power of curiosity and play. These aren't just fun extras, they're essential for keeping your mind flexible, open, and creative. Adults need play and exploration just as much as children. Finally, we discussed 3 words that are easy to forget in our fast-moving world: practice, progress, and patience. These are key to building lasting creative habits. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to stay in the process. Keep showing up, keep experimenting, and trust that growth takes time, because it does. Now, I want to invite you to reflect. What's one area in your life that could benefit from more creative thinking? Maybe it's how you handle stress. Maybe it's how you manage your time, navigate a relationship, tackle a work project, or even approach your English learning journey. Think about something that feels stuck, something you've been doing the same way for a long time. Ask yourself, what would happen if I looked at it differently? What new questions could I ask? What small experiment could I try? Here's your challenge for the week. Take one creative action. It doesn't have to be big or perfect, it just has to be different. Try solving a problem in a new way. Ask someone for their perspective. Change your routine. Draw your idea instead of writing it. Talk through a challenge out loud. Let yourself explore. Let yourself play. Even the smallest creative step can open new possibilities. Before we wrap up, I want to sincerely thank you for spending this time with me today. I know your time is valuable, and I hope this episode has given you something meaningful to think about and apply in your own life. Remember, creativity isn't a talent, it's a way of thinking, growing, and exploring. And the journey is yours to begin. I hope today's episode encouraged you, challenged you, and reminded you that creativity is something you already have inside you, a skill you can grow and use to make your life richer, more flexible, and more fulfilling. If you enjoyed this episode or found it helpful, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to share your thoughts or feedback. What did you learn? What stood out to you? What topics would you like us to explore in future episodes? You can leave a comment, send a message, or even recommend this episode to a friend who could use a little creative spark. And finally, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing or following the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. There's more great content on the way, always designed to help you improve your English while growing personally at the same time. Until next time, stay curious, stay patient, and most of all, stay creative.